have a question for you just to help me understand this and clarify a little bit. So
Sure.
would I be correct in saying when we're talking about Jesus getting his body and blood from Mary, if I understood a twin that an identical twin that split, would I be saying that Mary and Jesus are as close a biological match as a biological identical twin?
Almost. The only difference is, of course, Mary can't give Jesus the Y chromosome, uh, maleness. But I guess in a case you could say that all of Jesus' human DNA,
Yes.
except for that Y chromosome, comes from Mary,
Yeah.
because it's not an equal split with father and mother in this case. So the Holy Spirit provides, the chromosome of maleness, but yeah, look at any mother son dinner, they would win the look-alike contest. I mean,
Right. Well, which is
because
go ahead.
no, it was just because indeed it's not a split as in our cases between mother and father. Jesus gets his DNA from Mary.
Well, this would help all those in Christianity to understand her role, because if you look at Adam and Eve, Eve split from the side of Adam much in the exact same way, all of the same DNA. And when it said in Genesis that let us make God in our own image, male and female, we created them, in a sense then is the masculine and the feminine then, and somehow part of the mysterious way in which that part is contributed by God divinely.
That's right.
So
That's exactly right.
so I guess the way I had looked at it is that God truly makes all things new, unties all the knots of sin, and he wasn't just going to redeem the world, which he could have done any way he wanted. It seems to me that the way he chose to do it was to perfectly start all the way from the very beginning, and just as Eve split from the side of Adam, we now have the new Adam splitting from the side of Eve. And just as that was a seamless garment, if you will, without stain in the beginning, because we didn't have a fallen man creating then Eve, it was, would I be right in saying, a stainless garment, that he was free from sin, in a sense, conceived without sin, Adam was? Would I be right in saying conceived by the breath of God into the dust of the earth without sin?
We can use. I mean, conceived is typically a term that you use for the womb, but in its essence, yes. Not to get too far off topic, but that's why St. Maximin Kolbe says that the Holy Spirit is the example of all human conception, because he comes forth from the love between the Father and the Son. But of course, the Holy Spirit never had a beginning. But if we can call the Holy Spirit the uncreated immaculate conception, we can say that Adam was conceived in that sense too, in terms of his beginning. But your new Eve parallel is critically important, Christina. I mean, look, we lost grace through a man, through a woman, through a tree. We retain grace. We get it back through a man, through a woman, and a tree. And the fathers of the church, in what was called recapitulation and also recirculation, we're saying this is how powerful God is. God can take the very elements that led us to sin and use the very same elements to lead us to grace. So that's why you have a man, a woman, and a tree. You have Adam and Eve and the tree of good, the knowledge of good and evil. That's why you have to have a new Eve in the second round. It's not arbitrary.
Yes.
It's not cherry on the top. It's not icing on the cake.
Right.
You need Mary. You need a woman for God to show I can do all things, including bring back redemption through a man, a woman, and a tree. Jesus, Mary, and the cross. So this is ultimately the proper sense of an authentic Christian feminism. Not
Yes.
radical feminism where women try to be men, which is really a sad loss of the beauty of femininity. This is authentic feminist, and it's really radical in the sense that God wanted a woman over a pope, a bishop, a priest, a man. God wanted a woman involved with his divine son to restore human life. That's radical, but it's not radical the way it's used today. It's authentic Christian feminism about the dignity of woman. And you can't find the dignity of woman outside of Mary. She is the exemplar of that dignity.
You know what I love about everything that you're saying there is, you know, just like I like a lot of the saints that were bad boys or bad girls before they gave their yes. I guess in the sense because I feel like it gives me hope because I often say I gave my no before I gave my yes to God, and I felt like, oh, okay, if they can do it, it was harder for me to relate, I guess, to persons who went into a convent right away and were just virtuous their whole life. I feel like even with this, it's almost for me too. It shows how if someone would say, well, it's easy for Jesus to carry his cross because he was also God. Well, Mary was just a human being, and I feel like she's my hope because if she was a woman and not God, and still able to conform her will to God and give her yes under all of the pressures, then I just feel like she's my hope in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we need some to say, well, all we need is Jesus. Well, in a certain sense, that could be the case, but Jesus wants us to have Mary, and part of that is what you're tapping there, and that is it rejects what we can call the divine ad hominem. Well, of course, Jesus, you can do it. You're God. Well, you can't give that attack against the person to Mary because she's human. Now, she's a immaculate human, which is extraordinary,
Mm-hmm.
but she was absolutely as free as who? As free as Eve. Eve